You're in your living room. You've got a couch and a TV. And on that TV, a stadium of 70,000 people is screaming because one man just touched the ball with the outside of his foot. You feel nothing. Not because you're heartless, because somewhere a long time ago, something happened to America's brain that made this feeling skip a generation. And the strange part, it wasn't an accident. It was almost designed this way. Stay with me, because the man at the center of this, the one who broke the curse, did it twice, 50 years apart, and almost nobody noticed the pattern. Here's the part that should mess with you a little. Scientists put soccer fans and football fans in brain scanners. Same stadium energy, same crowd, same noise. But here's what they found. Your brain doesn't crave the goal. It craves the guess. Every time you don't know what's about to happen, your brain releases a tiny hit of dopamine, the same chemical that fires when you pull a slot machine lever. Football gives you that hit every 20 seconds. A snap, a play, a result. Baseball gives it every pitch. Soccer can go 10 minutes with nothing. And for a country raised on constant payoff, 10 minutes of nothing doesn't feel like sport. It feels like punishment. This is the real reason soccer failed in America. Not because Americans hated the game, because their brains were never trained to wait for it. And once you know that, everything else makes a horrifying kind of sense. Rewind to 1975. New York City is broke. Actually broke. The kind of broke where the president of the United States is asked to bail out the city and the Daily News runs the headline, "Ford to City Drop Dead." In the middle of that collapse, a media executive named Steve Ross does something insane. He goes and signs the greatest soccer player who has ever lived, Pele. 34 years old, retired, Brazilian, the most famous athlete on planet Earth, and somehow the US Secretary of State himself, Henry Kissinger, gets personally involved in making the deal happen. Soccer becomes foreign policy, and it works. 10 million Americans tune in to watch Pele's first match, a record that had never been touched before. Suddenly, the Cosmos are filling giant stadiums, 70,000 people, and Mick Jagger's in the crowd, Andy Warhol's in the crowd. The players are leaving the pitch and walking straight into Studio 54 without waiting in line. For one wild moment in American history, soccer wasn't foreign. It was the coolest thing in New York. But here's the open loop you need to hold on to. None of it was real. It was built backward. The stars came first. The infrastructure never showed up. And by 1981, the league's owners were spending over 70% of their entire budget on player salaries just to keep up with the spectacle Pele created. That kind of math only survives as long as the magic does. The moment Pele retired, gone. Crowds that used to be 40,000 dropped to a few thousand. The Cosmos folded. The league collapsed behind them. America had been shown the most beautiful version of the sport and then watched it die in real time. That wound didn't heal. It scarred. So here's what nobody talks about. While the adults were burying soccer, something strange was happening in suburban backyards across the country. Soccer quietly became the most played sport by American kids. Not football, not baseball, soccer. Millions of children every Saturday morning, cleats and shin guards and orange slices at halftime. And yet, almost none of them grew up to watch it on TV. The most played sport in America became one of the least watched. That's not a coincidence. That's a system working exactly as it was built. Because somewhere along the way, soccer in America stopped being the world's game, the one played in dirt lots and back alleys by anyone with a ball, and became a luxury good. Travel team, private coaches, thousands of dollars a year just to keep your kid on the right team. The cheapest, most democratic sport on earth got priced out of the hands of the families who might have actually produced the next great American talent. So the sport multiplied in backyards and shrank on television, and the two versions of soccer in this country stopped talking to each other. And underneath all of it sat one more uncomfortable truth about the American mind. Soccer ends in ties a lot, and Americans, raised on a culture that demands a winner, that builds entire identities around someone losing so someone else can be a champion, never made peace with a sport that's allowed to just shrug and end in a draw. You don't get closure, you get ambiguity. And for decades, that's exactly what America couldn't sit with. Now here's where the loop closes. July 2023, Inter Miami, a press conference. And the same move Steve Ross made in 1975 gets made again. Except this time, it's not Pele walking off a beach in Brazil into retirement. It's Lionel Messi at the absolute peak of his powers, choosing America on purpose. Crowds that used to sit under 17,000 jumped to nearly 30,000 within a single year. Stadiums sell out that had never sold out before. A teenager in Kansas City who's never watched the full 90 minutes in his life is suddenly wearing a number 10 jersey. And this is the part that should actually give you chills. It's happening in almost the exact same shape as it did 50 years ago. The same spectacle, the same disbelief, the same sudden cultural moment where soccer stops feeling foreign and starts feeling like it belongs here. The only difference, the part that might actually break the curse this time, is that the infrastructure is no longer missing. The stadiums exist, the academies exist, the youth leagues, however flawed, already exist. This time, the magic might have something underneath it to land on. So think about that dopamine hit again, the one your brain refused to give soccer all those years. It turns out the wait wasn't the problem. America just needed someone worth waiting for. Twice now, one man has walked into this country and made an entire nation feel something it swore it never would. And somewhere in a Miami stadium right now, a kid who's never cared about soccer in his life is on his feet, screaming without knowing exactly why. He thinks this feeling is new. It isn't. America's just finally remembering it. What do you think? Does this time actually stick, or does it disappear the moment he's gone again?